One.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Thrive in the O5 virtual business forum, our first virtual business forum. My name is Teresa Noon. I am the program manager for our Thrive in the O5 workforce and economic development efforts. And today we have a special guest. But before we get started, I'd like to have Barbara Coffey, our Director of Economic Initiatives with the City of Tucson, give a brief welcome.
Oh, great. Thanks, Teresa. Welcome, everyone. It's great that we can actually do this again. Our Thrive in the O5 business forums were happening quarterly at Pima Community College. And again, thanks to the work of Teresa and so many others on our City of Tucson and ASU and SBDC teams. It takes so many people to put things together, but we've had an opportunity now 9 weeks at, basically working from home, most of us, to do things a little differently. So this one comes to you in its virtual format, and I'm glad that there are many of you joining us. And I think before I kick it back to you, Teresa, just a quick reminder to all, the City of Tucson has been promoting its direct loan program as part of our Somos Uno Resiliency efforts. And I just wanted to point out that our deadline for loan applications is midnight on May 26th. So a few more days to complete those applications, and you can do that at BDFC.com. That stands for Business Development Finance Corporation, who is our lending partner for our loan fund program. Again, BDFC.com. I'll put it in the chat box so people know. But other than that, stay tuned. We'll keep you informed. We'll keep adding as many programs and opportunities as possible. And we will be back. Our Economic Initiatives Department will be back with our weekly webinar on Monday, June 1st. So we will have a Memorial Day holiday as well this time and reconvene on June 1st. And I think that will be a good conversation as well to what you're going to experience today. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Teresa.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Barbara. So again, welcome. Couple kind of logistics. We have everybody currently muted except for our speakers today, but if you have any questions, please place those into either the chat box or the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. I will be moderating that, and so at the end of our speakers presentation, we'll have a Q&A section, and I'll be able to help facilitate that as well. So very briefly, before I introduce our speaker, I wanted to just give a brief overview of Thrive in the O5. Thrive in the O5 is a collaboration of three incredible initiatives that are geared towards the transformation of Tucson's historic Northern Gateway within the 85705 zip code. This collaboration is made possible through the City of Tucson, Pima Community College, and ASU School of Social Work. And we focus on workforce and economic development, housing, and crime reduction. The 85705 zip code Thrive in the O5 area is bound by Miracle Mile on the north, Speedway on the south, I-10 on the west, and Stone on the east. But if you're participating today and you are outside these areas, you are welcome, and we are thankful that you're here. And our community is richer because of everybody's participation in continuing to move forward. And so with that, I am excited to announce our speaker for today. We have Ellen Curtin, who is our Director of the Small Business Development Center located at Pima Community College. And today she will be presenting on business resiliency. And so with that, I welcome Ellen Curtin and look forward to the presentation. Oh, you're on mute, Ellen.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. And I've been so excited to be part of this Thrive 05. A good number of the clients of the SBDC are in that area. And, the efforts that are being made are just wonderful. And I'm excited about what the future is going to hold and hopefully the role that we can continue to play. So given that, and the businesses in this area, and for those of you on the phone, many of you may have attended prior sessions that I've held, and those were basically relating to the loans, and I'll spend just a minute or two on those to update. But was in my mind that, I had gotten something from the SBA and it was a package on resiliency, and it sort of a little bit was after the fact, but there were components of it that really resonated with me that then I wanted to share with business owners, and it really is a move forward. So this is me. You can see me, but the whole thing is you're not alone, and that's, I hope you walk away with that today. And you know, Barbara with the City of Tucson has amazing resources. We work closely together, and so many others. So, next. So today is a bridge to tomorrow. I think if we think of it in those terms, it's not as if there's this unknown. When it's a bridge, there's elements along the way that we travel. So we don't know what the end of the bridge looks like. It's in the distance, but at the same time, we should be working at crossing that bridge. So just think about it. In terms of serving the crisis, you've made it this far. And the this far part was getting through a big unknown. Not that the future's any better known, but at the same time, we have gotten to this point, and you've made it to this point. So let's maximize where you are, and let's talk about next steps. Okay, next. So what is resiliency? This is the description, and I actually really like it. The creation and execution of a proactive plan to help mitigate the loss of cash flow during business interruptions, such as this coronavirus, enabling the business to continue. And I really want to focus on that last part, enabling the business to continue. So as much as that is possible, we are all here to help you accomplish that. Next. So when we talk about, I just want to talk about some examples of the interruption that we've seen. I purposely used the truck and the restaurant with the open tables to talk about some things that when we think about the supply chain interruption, I'm thinking about the milk that gets spilt, you know, that can't be used, the vegetation that can't be pulled. I'm sure if you've been to the market in the last week and a half, you've seen some of the milk, the meat shelves empty. And a lot of that has to do with the supply chain, and somewhere along that chain it's broken. And so that impacts the end user. So the interruption's been great for many reasons. Key employees unable to work. So I'll take just a minute to talk about the PPP loans that I've been really so pleased these last couple of weeks to be able to help a lot of folks actually get their money. So we've been working, the SBDC, vigilantly since the beginning of this, preparing folks, but the funding didn't start happening until the week after the second distribution was made. As many of you know, the first distribution went to, in large part, the big companies, the big banks. But to the government's credit, they changed the second wave and specifically directed the funds to the banks, the small size banks, and ultimately the businesses. So that's seen money go out. So that's all good. And the usage is very limited. What I tell everyone is to be sure and move those funds separately if possible. If you have it in a joint account with operating expenses, then put together a ledger. We just got the forgiveness document, and anyone that's interested, or Teresa, I can give it to you after to send out as well. It's fairly easy to work through. The big thing is that you use the money for, there's only three things you can use it for, as you know. 75% payroll, 25% for mortgage interest or rent, and or utilities. So you really want to calculate that. You have 8 weeks. 8 weeks started the day you got your money. And then they're also going to be looking at FTE. We're still working on how that linkage is going to work. The whole point was to keep employees employed. So the last thing I'll say about that loan is you cannot duplicate. So if you were able to get an EIDL is the disaster relief loans, the main loan, and then there was a bridge loan, advanced loan they called it. So you want to be sure you don't duplicate using the money, any one of those three. It's very, very critical to know. On the disaster relief loans, I've actually finally worked with one client who got the funds. It's a long time coming because it's a whole different kind of loan. If anyone gets one of those and has the documents, if you want to contact the SBDC, I spent hours going over it, and there's things you should know before, and you get it, you sign it, you send it back. You do have some time, but there's some things about that you need to know, or I need to put together just a workshop on that. So let me continue on where we're going. So of course, decreased foot traffic, event closures, those kinds of things. Next. So surviving the crisis, employee retention, very critical, what you're getting help with. So the first thing I'm going to recommend, and I have a tool at the end for you, is that you take an accounting of where you are. Not just employees, but where are you? What kind of inventory do you have? What do you sense in terms of people coming and how they're going to? None of us have a crystal ball or can figure that, but just take some steps to say, where am I? What do I have? What's my inventory? Whatever those things might be. So just take accounting where you are, take advantage of resources, and you have to lead the charge. So if you've brought your employees back, have your employees, and that should be the majority, be positive, even when you don't feel like it. That's the hardest times, but actually it even helps us at the end of the day. Okay, next. So maximizing where you are. Take advantage of time. What I find is that when we have more time, we do less. You'd think it would be the other way around, but somehow we find other things to do. So take advantage of time, make the use of it, make the best use of things like your website that maybe has just been, stationary. Use your employees, their time, their ideas. So the example I'm going to use is I have a client that I work with that owns a service company. And so when he was notified he had to close his business, he did, and he laid off all his workers. And then the PPP came along and he was able to get some funds. So what he did was he hired his employees back and, the opposite. He had to lay everyone off, and then the PPP loan came and he was able to hire them back. However, no clients because his salon was closed. And so in order to keep people employed, he was looking for things for them to do. So they did all kinds of things around the salon. They also were working on videos. I don't know how you are, but personal care, and I may not know how to take care of my nails, those kinds of things. But getting some videos that show me some things I can do during the interim, I just loved it. But the point was the employees felt like they were part of the solution, and they were helping their clients. So just think about how you can utilize your employees and how you keep things moving. Okay, next one is really important. It's important now, and it's going to be important going forward. So we talk about resiliency. Know your banker. I have never heard so many stories of up to this point of people who are business owners who have accounts and do not know their banker. They may know, the representatives that help exchange money at the branch, customer representatives, but they don't know a banker at all. And so let's talk about during this time, and let's talk about going forward. So this has been crisis lending. So except for the stimulus package, which has had its own problems, there's going to be tomorrow. I really want us thinking about tomorrow what we can do, but having bankers is just, having a banking relationship is critical. So I had so many call and say, I'm applying with X bank, and I submitted everything they asked me for, and then I get back a note that says, you're missing documents, but it wouldn't list what the documents were. I had clients that applied the very first week and didn't get funded until last week, and they had no one to call. So it's really critical to know your banker. So that's it today. But tomorrow, you know, there's still, I think, going to be a lot of borrowing need when this is said and done. It isn't as if, okay, the door's is closed now and it's going to open. Business as usual and funds and all of that. So there may be further needs. And again, this is working with your banker and knowing them. And so I have a whole different presentation on banking, or I'm glad to help anyone one-to-one. So just, I can't tell you how critical that is. Next. So how the economy impacts. I'm just trying to set the stage for where we're going from here. So as you know, during a crisis, we have job losses, bills still come due, lenders get tight. I had a client, had a very large loan, all approved, and it was the day before, you know, the crisis was announced. And as soon as the bank heard about it, were concerned. They were willing to make the loan with a guarantee, but they were very concerned and they pulled the approval. And I've heard that from others as well. So when it gets tight, banks get tight. They're lending your money, they're lending federal funds, and they just get tight. This is not unlike the recession from a lending standpoint. And during the recession, the majority of loans were SBA guaranteed. And the way we would say it is, the SBA takes a lien on everything. And so that's what I'm finding with the SBA EIDL loans as well, is that it basically, you know, they own your assets. And so things change. And so as we move forward, and I think SBA loans will lead the charge going forward. So again, knowing your banker, and cost goes up because risk equals cost. So these are the economic risks, length of time to recover, global economy, stock market fluctuations. Do you think we have a Congress divided? Cybersecurity. I hope you're attending to that. It's a whole nother session. Number one, please have cybersecurity insurance, and also make sure that you're really watching closely. It's, you know, the whole thing is on a rise and you don't want to be susceptible. Okay, next. Okay, maintain your credit standing. This is another, like, to know your banker. And this is the why. So credit scores do a couple of things. They cost you more because, again, risk is higher. So whether it's a business loan or your car insurance, more and more companies are using the credit score to price as well as determine the viability of helping you. Also, this can impact your ability to borrow. So typically, business lenders are looking at 700 or more. Again, that's a median. There's room up and down and different types of lenders, and that's a whole nother discussion. And better rates come with better scores. Can you impact this at all? Just to give one quick hint. So if you have, if you say you had 2 credit cards, they were both $10,000, and you needed to make a $5,000 purchase. And so you use one of the credit cards and you don't use the other one at all. You've used 100% of that line. So when the credit agency looks at all of your outstandings and they take on, especially revolving, not the fixed, on revolving loans, if they see that your balances are over 50%, and certainly if they get close to 100%, that can lower your score. So that's something you can do to work on. Okay, next. All right, so what's next? you have your funds now. Make sure you spend them on payroll and keep track. Bring your employees back. Pay employees if you're required to close. In the one case that I mentioned, at first the employees were paid and they came in. Some cases, some employees stay at home, but the money's meant to pay your employees. And then the ability to add your mortgage or rent and utility expenses. All right, so let's work now on a plan. Next. So identify critical functions. These are the things that keep a business going. Selling products, manufacturing, you accept payments, and manage cash flow. And I love this saying, ask yourself what is really important and then have the wisdom and courage to build your life around that answer. And so that's some stick-to-itiveness that I think is really important. And cash flow, this is a whole nother subject that at the SBDC, we do have a class on further down the road. And I just want to coin this phrase that cash flow is not just profit. I think people look at their bottom line and say, oh, I need 100,000. And then they say, how come I only have 20,000 in the bank? And that's a factor of just looking at your profit and loss statement. Many companies don't understand their balance sheet. And at the SBDC, this is what we do all the time in terms of education so that business owners can make good decisions. And this is really important going forward. And this is also very important to bankers. And this is how they think. I'm a 35-year banker. I was a senior vice president at Chase, managing business banking. So a wealth of background. And I have to tell you that generally what a business owner thinks and what a banker thinks is two different things, but doesn't have to be. All right, so moving from the lending side next, we're going to talk about marketing. Making best use of this time. Your employees are really important. So if you've got them engaged, then also get them involved and make a connection. If you don't have messaging, do that. Expand social media, whether it's internal or external. Why should people buy from you? So I wanted to share an example. I know Barbara, I think, had heard this once before, but it's such a good example. So there's a gal that owned a marketing company, which in itself is ironic as you hear this. And she started her company and it was slow, and then it started to grow, and she hit a plateau. That's also very common in business growth. And then as she grew, which was extensive, all of a sudden the curve started going the other way. And she had no idea what was happening. And so what she decided to do, which is somewhat unusual, is your first instinct is, I'm going to call my big clients and see, what's happening, test the waters, all of that. Well, she decided to contact 5 of her clients that she loves best, that she knows loves her best. Not her best clients, we often think revenue, but clients she knew loved her and what she does. And from that, she put together a plan, and from there she started going back up. And today she not only sells in Arizona, but her marketing, she's all across the world, the country and the world, because she did ask that simple question. So now that you have the time with resiliency, your time should be well spent saying, what works, or what in this environment do I need to make work? Okay, next. Going back to the website for just a minute. Make sure it's up to date. If you're temporarily closed, you want people to know where you are. What is very successful, a lot of companies right now, is they are selling online. And I think a great example of that are masks, on how you all are. But those white cotton masks don't do it for me. I really wanted something a little more, a little bit larger, a little more decorative. And so there's one of our business owners who's a designer is doing some great masks, and others. But that's an example of selling online where you may never have before. And that can continue after this, so that's good. videos, just keeping in front of your customers, because to try and bring them back after this, let me tell you, I think we all realize there's going to be a lot of questions, and the questions along the lines of, I don't feel safe going out, I do feel safe going out. I just want to drive by. It might be, okay, all this advertisement and I'm confused what I should do. What you want to remind your customers is who you are, that you take care of them, you stay communicating during this time. So if you haven't been doing it to this point, then I highly recommend you start. And when I'm deciding what emails to open, I'm going to people that I know, and I'm getting rid of the rest. So for my counseling with my clients, I had decided for a month to look at emails from people that I didn't know. And I would say probably 90%. I would not continue with them. I just stopped it. But we just keep doing this. But if it was someone I knew, I opened it. And go back to the salon, one of the things they did, and I think some retailers are starting to see this is a good thing, is that they started advertising in their gift certificates. And what they did was add a bonus to it. So say $100 gift certificate was now worth $120. So I'm thinking the first day that opens, I'm calling, I'm making an appointment, I'm going to be using this gift certificate. So something as simple as that you can start doing that maybe you weren't doing before. Okay, next. I keep coming back to employees because I'm hearing so much from employees who feel lost. And I think that you're in a position to help, because we don't know what their home situation is, or so many things, and they can find encouragement at work. A lot of us, certainly all of us here, are working at home, so there's really no social interaction. You're working with your employees, you're doing your safety, but you're communicating. So think about this as a time to cross-train your employees, being virtual if you need to, with if you're not in person, so you don't lose that connection during this time. So whatever it is, a hint a week, send me your questions, let's have a chat, whatever that might be, use that to your benefit. Hiring online support. So if you don't know how to do social media and you say, you know, I think she has some merit to that, then there's some great companies locally that can help you with that. And you're giving the employees the opportunity to contribute to the company. Next. So again, I gave you the one example. Who would have thought this would be a time to expand or diversify? Saying, oh, I'm just trying to keep going. This is the ideal time. And you know, that's the magic word for diversity, and a solution is making the best use of your time. Even for the SBDC, we've come up with a couple of things we're going to be doing afterwards that we've learned from this, what some of our clients' needs are that they haven't known how to express. So the first one you see is ways to create multiple streams of income. So I teach, matter of fact, I'll be on this afternoon out at Davis Mountain. Today it'll be virtual, but the Air Force folks who are going to be leaving, retiring, and they want to start a business. So we have a 2-day boot camp that we do. And I will tell you, inevitably, there's one that's going to open a restaurant. It just happens all the time. A restaurant, a food truck, we love the food trucks. Whatever one of those are. And so when I get talking about this expansion idea, so let's say barbecue is really a popular one. And inevitably someone's from Texas, and Texas has the best barbecue. And so if we were thinking about a way to diversify, one of the things that we suggest is, well, what's the best part of the barbecue? Which I'm thinking I know the answer to, and they'll inevitably say the barbecue sauce. Obviously you have to have good cuts of meat and all the rest of it, but the barbecue sauce. So their diversification would be to start selling the barbecue sauce. And so thinking now what you sell, what you do, is there something along that line that you could do to expand? And again, we still come back to time. This is a time, just pencil thoughts down. Another thing you can do, and this helps engage your customers, is ask their ideas. You know, you love what we're doing. We have this. Is there anything that you would like to see? I'm going to go back to the salon again, just because it's a good example. So it used to be that a salon I went to had jewelry, and it wasn't expensive jewelry. It was like really gift kind of things that it was nice, but we're not talking about selling diamonds. So it was nice gift things. Well, they stopped having it. And I thought, you know, what was nice is while you were sitting waiting to get waited on, you could look at these. And so now the salon is looking at doing that. So diversification, increasing whatever any of those are, is a really viable thought going forward. So, so let's keep that in mind, and we'll give you a tool to be working on that. So managing cash flow is next. And this is the part where the SBDC we do the most. So these are a couple hints. Communicate with your suppliers for terms. If you don't ask, you won't get it. But some people may have been able to get some funds and can work with you. Big one is your rent. Talk to your landlord and see if you can work something out. And you're not asking for forgiveness. You just want to put it in the back. Lowering the amount of inventory you have. We talked about alternative markets. So, and please, if you don't have a good accountant, get one. If you didn't learn anything through this, and a lot of people were struggling to find someone, we have some great referrals that we use. It was just over their head, and because this is new. So please have a good accountant and a good attorney. I can't stress that enough. Okay, so here's next a challenge for you. So, okay, Ellen, you've told me all this. Now I need to formulate it, but where do I start? So we're going to get busy making a plan for next steps. Again, engage your team or your clients or whoever. And again, I recommend if you can maybe pencil it out first and then engage others. That's probably a good way to start. Add time frames. Tell you right now, if you don't add a time frame, it ain't going to happen. It's interesting again. When you have more time, you find things to do that have nothing to do with the things you really want to get done, whether we want to distance it or whatever the reason is. So when you have a plan and you put time frames with it, now you're going to hold yourself accountable for those. So engaging a team, gather information, what's worked in the past, put that together. And again, these can be bullets. You don't need to write a book. If someone comes in to the bank and wants a loan and they have a business plan and it's 200 pages, I give it right back. I'm not reading 200 pages. I don't need 200 pages to find out where you are. And then I give them a blueprint of what to use. So we're not writing a book here. Okay, we want to put some actionable steps together, and then we can add detail. So gather your information, and then time frames, and then of course the SBDC and others are great resources. So let's talk about next steps. So we're going to use the lean canvas. In order to get loans, you typically need a business plan, again, and not a huge long document. So for a couple of reasons, you're doing this for you first. First and foremost, I tell everyone, if you do a business plan, it's for you first. And then guess what? And this is what we do with clients. We keep checking back on it. We don't make it up, put it up on the desk and forget about it. This is meant to be really actionable. So keep going back to it. We sometimes call ourselves, instead of counselors, accountability partners. So we often need that. So whoever that might be with you keeps checking in. So we're going to be using this tool, and it's one page. There's little blocks. If you all have a copy, or if not, you can take notes. And I know Teresa, you're sending out this afterwards anyway. And we have this recorded. So And you can do it individually, or suggestion, do it as a team. It might be husband, wife, it might be family, whatever it might be, whatever works for you. This is customized to you. All right, so here's the document. So this is a business model canvas, and the first thing we're going to start with is the problem. And hopefully you can see this, you're going to list your top 1, 2, or 3 problems. No more than that. You may be closed for 2 months, trying to keep qualified staff, customer retention, your cash flow, whatever those things are. This should be top problem or problems, okay? Something that you can work on and really get to the grassroots of it. So when we look at existing alternatives, how are these solved today? So again, we talked about maybe online sales when you haven't had those before. What are some alternatives that are out in the market, maybe that you're not doing, but that what you observe? Then when we look at the solution, okay? So it might be when we're talking about sales being down, and I would aim to say that would be the majority. I also have a company, and I'm seeing the same thing. So we've adopted some new efforts. So again, when we talked about a solution, the gift certificates being one of the examples, the making the masks, whatever it is you do, is there another thing that can be done? Might be an answer. It might be who's doing it. It might be how it's being done. We talked about, you know, outsourced marketing and being in front of customers and clients. I just think that's so important. That's why I really tried to conduct that study myself, just to see what my reactions were and my buying habits and coming out of this. So I think people are starting to think about that. Like it's a big unknown, we don't know. So, you know, you can ask 5 people, when do you think this is over? And you'll get 5 different answers. So you can't work for each one of them, you just work for an end in sight, whatever that might be. So once you do this, and so let's say you want to get, you need to get more people in the door, or when it's open, what will that look like? What are some key metrics? What are some numbers that'll tell you how you're doing? Because it feels good. I talked to a few people that opened just this last week, and what have you noticed? And it feels good. Pretty difficult to have that be a metric. So it might be, I expected to have 5 people come, and I had 7. And so that's the kind of metric that you want. Okay, so then next we go to the UV, which it's not about vision. That's what I first thought when I saw this. But what's your unique value proposition? Why you? And I think it's easy to use a case study, which is why I keep going to my client. And it's first class. It's, you know, when you have a personal service, it's like, what's my environment? Some people just go in, want the end, you know, the end product and be out. But for me, it's the experience that's there. And so to have a beautiful environment, you know, view of the mountains, it's a great part of why I go. So what's your unique value proposition? You know, you're priced right for your area. Your product stands out. Your employees, your customers love them. So what is your unique value proposition? And the other part of this says, single, clear, compelling message that turns an unaware visitor into an interested prospect. So we've been talking a lot about retaining customers, and too many miss that point. And I think right now we are focusing that. And then also, now we also want to bring in clients. So with the environment change, what is it that you do that can help customers in this environment, this changing environment? So that's what this unique value proposition is about. And then what are your components of it? So this talks about using YouTube or Flickr. I don't use Flickr, but YouTube is great so that you can get your message out. I'll tell you who's really popular right now is all these workout videos. I know working at home and sitting at this desk 8 or 10 hours a day, to be able to get up and do 15 minutes of exercise, the college gives us this, some exercises to do, and it's so helpful. And so I think that when we're helped through a process, that the loyalty is going to grow. So just think about things like that that set you apart. And that's also your unfair advantage, something that can't be easily copied or bought. If you're in a situation where you have that, what is that? The unique value proposition is a message, and this is really what are they? What are the unique properties of it? So on channels, you want to list your path to customers, and sometimes what companies look at is what are the demographics. So the millennials buy one way, you know, the baby boomers buy another, and how do they buy? So I think that more of the baby boomers are using the internet, some of this by having to, but they buy differently than millennials do. And understanding those markets and those paths is really important, especially if you're going to isolate and identify 1, 2, or 3 things, and how do you get to your customers with those. And the customer segments, this just drills down further. Again, so you're identifying a niche that you may have. Some may sell to all. And the early adopters, these are a little more you know, discretionary, this part, but listing the characteristics of your ideal customers. So those 3 really go together. At the bottom, when we talk about the cost structure, this is where you want to, what's the cost for me to do these things? So if you're having to increase something, but on the other hand, you can decrease something, this is where you want to take a look at how's this impacting me financially. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So you really need to understand where you were, where you are, and how can you start making your way out of this very tangibly. And so this is where from all at the top, when you fill it out, you should be able to fill the bottom, which are your revenue streams, listing them. And again, this is where you can have current revenue streams, and you can have those maybe new or expanded new sources as well. So again, bringing you back to the marketing company example that I gave you, she went out a whole new direction to people that she was not working with yet, and it worked great because she had a focus. Okay, so next, it's in your hands. You're going next. Okay, thank you. So it's in your hands now. What we did today and what we've been covering is having a pathway and also knowing like you're not alone. Just want to keep repeating that. You've heard a lot of resources just on this today that you're not alone. If you don't know what steps to take, you don't know what are other people doing. I guess that's another benefit that we have at the SBDC is we work with a variety of kinds of companies, manufacturers, retailers, the whole gamut. So there are things that are similar with across the board, and then there are things that are unique. And so you're not alone. And so the PCC SBDC, I know it sounds like a mouthful, even if you don't do the whole written out part. We're funded primarily by the SBA, which is great right now because our linkage is great for all these loans that are available. Pima Community College and the strong relationship we have there and the resources that allows, and the Arizona Commerce Authority, who I would suggest you go to their website. They've been doing boot camps, and this this week it's all on the PPP forgiveness. But I spoke on the bankers. It's worth looking at. So what all that allows us to do is provide no cost one-on-one counseling for small business. So I didn't say free. This is not free, but it is no cost because these contributors want to contribute to the success of business. And so the ACA, the college, all provide great services and certain incentives. So we serve both Pima and Santa Cruz County. And as a finish, knowledge is power, and I hope I was able to provide that today. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. And Teresa? This, yeah, contact information. Yeah. This is contact information, both email and phone, so feel free to get hold of us. Oh, you're muted.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Ellen, so much for this great presentation. So if anybody has any questions, we have our Q&A section, which is at the bottom of your screen, as well as there is the chat function. So feel free to add any questions that you may have. And I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen so you can see all of us. And so I'll start off with a question as we're waiting to see if we've got some other questions from the audience. And my question is Ellen, you had mentioned some other resources with regards to potential marketing website, as well as some of the financial pieces. Do you have some recommendations from the Small Business Development Center on where people could find more webinars or more information on those particular topics that you referenced today?
So in terms of webinars, the two would be City of Tucson has one every Monday with the exclusion of Memorial Day. We get to have the day off. And those have been excellent. They've covered a broad range of topics, and I know will continue to do so. And I did mention the Arizona Commerce Authority. If you go to their website, they do this boot camp every day for 3 days. And then the other 2 days, they have Q&A in regard to the 3 webinars. Also, some of the lenders, where Danny is, Barbara, you want to talk about him for just a minute? They're doing quite a bit as well.
Sure. So Community Investment Corporation is who you're mentioning. And they have some webinars. They've been holding them, I think, midweek in the middle of the day. So that would be good. And I can try to find some links or make sure, Teresa, that you have that to add into your newsletters as a follow-up. That's probably a good plan. And there are, there's a variety of resources, even a lot of our private industries, a lot of real estate companies are doing webinars, and other organizations that support economic development and business development. So as we find those, we will also share that information forward. And Teresa, I'll make sure you have it as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbara. For anybody who's listening and participating, if you happen to be part of an organization that's hosting webinars, please contact me, and I'm happy to help get that information out, as well as post it within our Business Connection. And so our Business Connection is a weekly email newsletter that comes out. If you're not already receiving it, you'll receive it after this webinar, because we'll subscribe your email address. And it has a variety of resources each week with regards to helping your businesses thrive during this time, as well as upcoming opportunities, trainings, webinars. All past issues are located as links on our thriveintheo5.com/business, where we'll also post today's recording, the worksheet, as well as the slides from today. And so I'm going to check and see if we have any questions. I'm not seeing any showing up here. Don't see any questions, but I'll give any final thoughts, Ellen, that you'd like to share with us?
I just want to mention that, just to go back quickly to the PPP loan, that we did get the application this week. Anyone that is interested in having that, we'll be glad to share that as well. It's very well written and very clear and distinct. And so I know that's a question for a lot of people. And the timeline is going to go through 8 weeks from the last day of the event. We're waiting to hear. You know, the last thing I want to say is we really have to be grateful to the SBA and our government. We all have had our times and experiences, but this has been nothing short of miraculous when you think of the time frame. The original Treasury stimulus package was written like over a long weekend. It was over 800 pages. And so they learned things as it was sent out, but they fixed the first part so quickly, within a week. Your cities, your municipalities, I just think it's just short, like again, short nothing of miraculous, that the response to our needs. And so I'm just grateful.
So Ellen, did you see this question from Holly? In the orientation, she mentioned attending online with Alex Magallanes. He offered to assist with websites. Is that the case? Can you confirm that?
I know Alex is doing some new things, but I don't have an outline of those yet. I know he has strong work ethics, you know, and really cares about what he does. I can say that.
Great. And if you have, I don't know if you had anything to add on that, Teresa, but I can tell you that for those who are listening in and you're still needing, again, some financial assistance, the city of Tucson, our mayor and council are working on the program underneath the Somos Uno Resiliency Fund efforts that would include grants to small business as well as to individuals as well as to nonprofits. So when the criteria for that is ready, you'll hear about it from us, and they will be smaller amounts. So think about small business grants not to exceed $10,000. That's the type of monies that we're talking about. We are able to utilize some of our government CARES fund relief funds, and so that enables the city to put those to work in the community for small business. So I promise you'll get details very soon on that, likely in June. And so we're getting close to that, but that's another good cash flow opportunity for many of you who are still trying to navigate what is happening. So we'll be sure and put that in your newsletter as well, Teresa.
Great, thank you so much. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. I do want to thank Ellen for her presentation today. Thank you so much for being here. And of course, Barbara for helping co-host today's webinar. I placed my email address in the chat box, tmnoon@pima.edu if you have any questions, feedback, or resources to share. And then also, I'd really like to hear from each of you on types of topics you'd like to see potentially scheduled during the summer in this virtual environment. We plan to do continue connecting with you through our business forums, and we'll do them virtually in the foreseeable future. So I look forward to hearing from you on any topics, something that might be helpful. And with that, I thank all of you for your time today. Thank you for joining us. And we are here to serve and help you, and we look forward to connecting with you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Ellen. Have a great day, everybody.
You too, Teresa. Thanks.
Great. Thanks.